All right, with that, let's welcome in Kansas Congressman Ron Estes, member of the House Ways and Means Committee. He joins us here in studio. So, Congressman, before we get to the president's reaction, maybe we'll just get your thoughts what it was like to hear Ronald Reagan's voice in that message. Did that stand out to you as questionable?
Well, yeah. I mean, in terms of particularly as deceptive as the ad was. I mean, President Reagan, as we know, was for free and fair trade, and he was for standing up for America, and we want to continue that. You know, when you look at that ad in general, it was deceptive the way Canada produced that ad and trying to highlight that. You know, but that's not the first time they've really taken that approach. Back when we were negotiating the original USMCA, they were actually looking at dragging their feet and slow walking it, and it finally came to a point where the United States and Mexico were going to go forward with just a two-country agreement, and that's when Canada came back to the table and said, we want to be engaged. So we want to make sure that we have good, free and fair trade opportunities. We want to make sure that we support American businesses, and help make sure that there's not abuse by any country out there. And that's what President Trump wants to stand for, is how do we support that? And members in Congress want to do that as well. Want to make sure that we help make sure that we support businesses in America, support workers, support families and consumers.
Yeah, and that's what, for context, that is what President Ronald Reagan was discussing, that he wanted, the country wanted free and fair trade. Japan had tariffs set upon the states, on the United States. He set reciprocal tariffs in place in that moment, and then spoke after those were already in place. It is very much mirrored of what we're seeing now. Even so, Canada's deciding to run that ad. Premier Doug Ford defended the ad while speaking to reporters back on the 14th, and when the ad was first making the rounds in Canadian and American markets. Watch this.
That ad, it's not a nasty ad. It's actually just very factual, and coming from a person like Ronald Reagan, every Republican is going to identify that voice. Maybe the younger Republicans can't remember, but he was just the best president the country's ever seen, in my opinion.
But what he's leaving out is that while it wasn't a fake ad, it was deceptively edited, using Reagan's words in that 1987 speech that went on for roughly about 5 minutes to prove Ontario or Canada's point, and running that in America's markets. Ford went on to suspend the ad. But some congressmen dismissed this as, oh, Trump's getting upset over a commercial. It's much bigger than that.
It really is. I mean, when you look at, this whole process that Canada's followed in terms of looking at dragging their feet on things. I mean, there's been ongoing disputes with Canada on things like dairy and lumber and hardwood, and that was part of the whole process of USMCA, was to make sure that when those disputes arose, there was an opportunity to address them and work through that. And we still have some ongoing things that we need to work through that. That's kind of one of the reasons why when USMCA was set up, there's a checkpoint next year. To actually see what's working and what's not working. So as we move forward, that's going to be one of those issues is how do we make sure that United States, Mexico, and Canada all working on making sure that we have free and fair trade, and that's good for all three countries.
Yeah. President Trump is focused on a number of trade deals, including one in China, as you know, so we'll be watching that later this week. Can I ask you about the shutdown, though? I mean, when is this going to end? We are seeing some consequences here, reports of SNAP benefits even ending by the end of this month. So real people could be impacted by this.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we're now seeing, starting last week, federal employees, whether you're military or whether you're civilian employees, paychecks have run out of money in terms of that. And so people are starting to be affected by that. SNAP benefits, the food stamp benefits, as you said, starting at the end of this month, first of next month. It's really sad, because when we passed this continuing resolution to November 21st, it was really just to allow time to actually do the fiscal 26 appropriations for the entire budget for the federal government. And, this is something that actually Democrats voted on it 13 times, basically, when President Biden was in office, as recently as this past March. And so it was kind of one of these things, there's not gimmicks in it, but they've been playing games around it. Actually, Senator Schumer's out said that, every day gets better for them through that process. The Democrat whip in the House, Catherine Clark, she went out and said, We know families are hurting through this, but this is a leverage point for them. And I just think that's the wrong way for American leadership to actually punish American families going through these.
Absolutely.